Hi, my name's Phil Binks. I'm from Bodoni, North America. We today are going to cover some of the features of pressSIGN. This time we're going to feature the pressSIGN's color interface, the solid color data. So we'll be explaining what the solid color data numbers are, and so let's just get straight into it. The main interface for pressSIGN is called the summary screen. The summary screen features several individual interface windows, all now combined. At the bottom, you see the solid colours from cyan, magenta, yellow and black, and two Pantone colours. This is the area that we'll be concentrating on today. We'll be concentrating on the cyan, magenta and the two Pantone colours. The yellow and the black are included in this. However, for simplicity, we're just going to concentrate on those four colours. So this is an enlargement of that colour area. Here we see that we have data relating to cyan, magenta and the Pantone colours that are in this job. So solid colours include the CMYK, but they also include any solid spot colour that you have, whether it's a Pantone or a customised spot colour. The numbers that you see here represent the average of that particular reading. So if you have a colour bar that has just one solid colour of each in it, then this will be the exact colour data for that single patch. However, if for instance, as if you were on a litho press, you might have multiple colours in a single scanned reading. So for instance, if your press has got 16 zones, you'll have 16 cyans. This represents the average of those multiple scanned readings. Let's concentrate just on the cyan so that I can explain how the colours are represented for you. The top box represents the density. This means that pressSIGN from the spectral data from the spectrophotometer has calculated that the density is 1.39. It's recommending to the press operator that they reduce the density by 5% in order to match the very best colour against the colour target that we're using. Next to that are two columns. We have the printed column, and that shows the delta E value for the measurement that we have so far. So we have a delta E of 1.57 away from the target value. The density is confirmed here as well at 1.39. Next to that, we also have another column. This is the finished column, and in this case it's empty. The reason it's empty is because within pressSIGN you can make readings as if the press is wet and then do subsequent readings for dryback. If you're making readings for dryback, then the finished column will be populated. You can also start a job and tell pressSIGN that the job is dry already, in which case the finished column will contain the same data. The data again is the delta E and the density that have been achieved. Below those figures we have the best value. So the best delta E is 0.63 and was a density of 1.33. This means that the density of the best patch throughout the whole job has been of these values. So if you're reading multiple sheets, then pressSIGN will calculate the very best delta E of any of the patches that you've read throughout the job. Below this, in the brackets, we have the values for the density that have been read throughout the job. So the range of 1.14 to 1.48 represents the density of the cyan values that have been measured throughout the whole job. Next to that we have the estimated target value. This is a dynamic density, and it may change during the job. However, the target that pressSIGN has calculated is that you need 1.32 density in order to get the very best colour match against the target standard. Next to that, we mentioned the status for the filter on the density. So this is the calculated density filter within the spectrophotometer. And below that we have three graphics. Simply on the left hand side we show the printed colour with a diagonal line separating it away from the target colour. So you get a good visual as to whether your ink colour is maybe too light or too dark. Next to that we have an AB graph which is taken from the LAB screen. The dot within the AB graph shows where the colour currently exists, and it will give you a guide as to whether you have the right hue in your colour ink or not. Next to that we have the L graph. So this one I've enlarged to make it easier to understand. The dot represents the measurement. That dot can only move up or down. The 55.18 and the solid line are the L value target. So ideally we would want that dot to be exactly resting on that central line. The fact that the dot is below that line means that we have a darker L value than we ideally would want. The L value that we've measured would be shown in the colour inspector window. However, let's have a look at the magenta side of things as well, because we have a couple of other features. You'll see that in the main measurement window here, the numbers are red. If you see any red figures in the summary window or more or less anywhere else within the pressSIGN interface, that means that the values are outside of the tolerance of the target set. So here 1.24 and a plus 4% density is still outside the tolerance that we are aiming for. And here on the right hand side you can see a delta E value of 3.54. So I would assume that the density for this job in the target standard is a delta E of 3. So 3.54 takes us above that range. Just enlarging that central point as well. So the LAB graph, where the dot is shown in here, shows a representation of the hue of the ink that has been measured. The ovals represent the delta E target tolerance area. So you may be just inside or just outside of the zone. Keep an eye on the values and the red figures to tell you where you really exist. There are larger representations of this data elsewhere in this interface, specifically the estimates window. So the same data is shown for the Pantone solid spot colours as well. So I hope that clarifies some of the data that you'll see within the summary window, specifically relating to the solid colours at the bottom. So if you've enjoyed this, thank you, and please click the subscribe button at the bottom so that you can get further updates whenever I post more guides regarding pressSIGN. And if you want to know where to get hold of pressSIGN, take a look in the description below this video and you can find out how to get hold of us and to get hold of a copy of pressSIGN. Thank you.